Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, our second session looking at Mother Bombie by John Lyly. This is our penultimate John Lyly play. We have this and Midas left to do. Otherwise we have done all the other John Lyly plays, so it's nearly the end of an era. As we are working through this text. We've only done Act 1 so far. We did a short session where we just sort of dived into the plot, or shall we say less dived into, more sort of dipped our toes tentatively into the action, getting a sense of this story of parents and children trying to get it on or stop people getting it on in various different conjunctions. We today will be reading Act 2 and Act 3 of Mother Bombie. The title character, who as of yet has not had a name check, I believe, and as of yet has not appeared. So hopefully at some point we will see Mother Bombie. So reading Mother Bombie today, so someone who's obviously very hopeful that Mother Bombie actually says some dialogue, and it's not unknown for me to cast people and not give them any dialogue at all. It's only happened twice as far as I can remember, but it may have happened more. Reading Mother Bombie today is...
Hello, I'm Francis Cox, actor living in Amsterdam. And spoiler alert, Mother Bombie does appear today.
Mother Bombie does exist. Reading Dromio today is...
Steve Longstaffe, scholar of early modern drama, based in North Lancashire in the UK.
And working my way through all the EOs. Reading Stellio today is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm a glowworm.
He is. That's a fact. Reading Memphio today is...
Hello, I'm Emma Kemp. I'm an actor and I live in London.
Reading Silena today is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian in Hull and I'm very upset because I've just cut my own hair.
But we think it's lovely, so it's fine. Returning to some EOs, reading Lucio today is...
Aliki Chapple, actor in Lancaster.
Reading Risio today is...
Briony, Sparrow, actor in the East Midlands. I cut my own hair too, and it's a lot worse than anything you've ever seen before, hence the wig.
Reading Halfpenny and Serena today is...
Rachael, Nicole, actor, New Jersey. Morning.
And reading Sperantus today is...
Hi, Alan Scott, based in Suffolk, and yet again I'm playing a rich farmer.
And reading Maestius and Rixula today is...
Hi, I'm Tamara. I'm in Germany. I'm an actor, and I just don't cut my own hair because I'm scared.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I haven't cut my hair since July last year, and it's starting to grow out. It's starting to get almost annoying in length. So that's the hair report here. Moving on to the play, of which I don't believe hair features as an important plot complication, but maybe we're wrong. Maybe this is all a cunning lead up that we're lulling you into. We're not. We're really not. Act 2, Scene 1. We having had a sad scene, shall we say, as Candius and Livia are separated broadly by their parents. Sperantus and Prisius give them a stern talking to. Older generation talking down very much to the younger. We flit to a different set of characters. We have met Dromio before, and in another separate scene we've met Risio before, but I don't think they've actually been together on stage. So enter Dromio and Risio.
How if I could meet with Risio, it were a world of waggery.
Oh, that it were my chance, obviam dare Dromio, to stumble upon Dromio, on whom I do nothing but dream.
His knavery and my wit should make our masters that are wise fools, their children that are fools beggars, and us two that are bond free.
He to cozen, I to conjure, would make such alterations that our masters should serve themselves, the idiots their children serve us, and we to wake our wits between them all.
Quam opportune, look if he drop not full in me dish.
Lupus in fabula, Dromio, embrace me, hug me, I must make thee fortunate.
Risio, honour me, kneel down to me, kiss me feet, I must make thee blessed.
My master old Stellio hath a fool to his daughter.
Nay, my master old Memphio hath a fool to his son.
I must convey a contract.
Well, I must convey a contract.
Between her and Memphio's son, without speaking to one another.
Between him and Stellio's daughter, without speaking to the other.
Dost thou mock me, Dromio?
Well, thou dost me else.
Not I, for all this is true.
And all this.
Then we're both driven to our wits' ends. For if either of them had been wise, we might have tempered, if no marriage, yet a close marriage.
Well, let us sharpen our accounts. There's no better grindstone for a young man's head than to have it wet upon an old man's purse. Oh, thou shalt see my knavery shave like a razor.
Thou for the edge and I the point. We'll make the fool bestride our mistress' backs, and then have at the bag with the dudgeon haft. That is, at the dudgeon dagger by which hangs his tantony pouch.
These old uddles have such strong purses with locks, when they shut them, they go off like a snap pants.
The old fashion is best. A purse with a ring round about it is a circle to course a knave's hand from it. But, Dromio, two, they say, may keep counsel if one be away. But to convey knavery, two are too few, and four too many.
And in good time, look where Halfpenny, Sperantus boy, cometh. Though bound up in decimo sexto for carriage, yet a wit in folio for cousinage. Single Halfpenny! What news are now current?
Enter Halfpenny.
Nothing but that such double foistrels as you be are counterfeit.
Are you so dapper? We'll send you for a halfpenny loaf.
I shall go for silver, though, when you shall be nailed up for slips.
Thou art a slipstring, I'll warrant.
I hope you shall never slip string, but hang steady.
Dromio, look here. Now is my hand on my halfpenny.
Thou liest. Thou hast not a farthing to lay thy hands on. I am none of thine, but let me be wagging. My head is full of hammers, and they have so malleted my wit that I am almost a malcontent.
Why, what's the matter?
My master hath a fine scholar to his son, Prisius a fair lass to his daughter.
Well.
They have two love one another deadly.
In good time.
The fathers have put them up, utterly disliking the match, and have appointed the one shall have Memphio's son, the other Stellio's daughter. This works like wax, but how it will fadge in the end, the hen that sits next to the cock cannot tell.
If thou have but any spice of knavery, we'll make thee happy.
Tush, doubt not of mine. I am as full for my pitch as you are for yours. A wren's eggs is as full of meat as a goose egg. Though they be not so much in it, you shall find this head well stuffed, though there went little stuff to it.
Laudi ingenium. I like this sconce. Then, hearken. Memphio's made me of his counsel about marriage of his son to Stellio's daughter. Stellio made Risio acquainted to plot a match with Memphio's son. To be sure, they're both fools.
But they are not fools that be short. If I thought thou meanst so, sentiers qui vir, sim, thou shouldst have a crow to pull.
Be not angry, halfpenny. For fellowship we will be all fools, and for gain all knaves. But why dost thou laugh?
At mine own conceit and quick censure.
What's the matter?
Suddenly methought you two were asses, and that the least ass was the more ass.
Thou art a fool, that cannot be.
Yea, my young master taught me to prove it by learning, and so I can out of Ovid by verse.
Prithee how?
You must first, for fashion's sake, confess yourselves to be asses.
Well?
Then stand you here, and you there.
Go to.
Then this is the verse as I point it. Cum mala per longus invaluere moris. So you see, the least ass is the more ass.
We'll bite for an ape, if thou bob us like asses. But to end all, if thou wilt join with us, we will make a match between the two fools, for that must be our tasks, and thou shalt despise to couple Candius and Livia by overreaching their fathers.
Let me alone. Non enim mea pigra inventio. There's matter in this noodle.
Enter Lucio.
But look where Prisius comes, as fit as pudding for a dog's mouth.
Pop 3 knaves in a sheath, I'll make it a right Tunbridge case and be the bodkin.
Nay, the bodkin is here already. You must be the knife.
What?
I am the bodkin. Look well to your ears, I must bore them.
Mute thy tongue, or we'll cut it out. This I speak, representing the person of a knife, as thou didst that in shadow of a bodkin.
I must be gone. Tired it irketh, or portet, it behoveth my wits to work like barm. Alias yeast, alias sizing, alias rising, alias God's good.
The new wine is in thy head. Yet was he fain to take this metaphor from ale? And now you talk of ale. Let us all to the wine.
Four makes a mess, and we have a mess of masters that must be cozened. Let us lay our heads together, or they're married and cannot.
Let us consult at the tavern, where after the health of Memphio, drink we to the life of Stellio. I carouse to Prisius, and brinch mass Sperantus. We shall cast up our accounts, and discharge our stomachs, like men that can digest anything.
I see not yet what you go about.
Lucio, that can pierce a mud wall of 20 foot thick, would make us believe he cannot see a candle through a paper lantern. His knavery is beyond Elan, and yet he says he knows not gamut.
I am ready. If any cousinage be ripe, I'll shake the tree.
Nay, I hope to see thee so strong to shake 3 trees at once.
We burn time, for I must give reckoning of my day's work. Let's close to the bush ad deliberandum.
Indeed, inter pocula philosophandum. It is good to plea amongst pots.
Thine will be the worst. I fear we shall leave a halfpenny in hand.
Why sayest thou that? Thou hast left a print deeper in thy hand already than a halfpenny can leave, unless it should sing worse than a hot iron.
Ah, friends, and so let us sing. 'Tis a pleasant thing to go into the tavern clearing the throat.
And they sing, Io Bacchus, to thy table, thou callest every drunken rabble. We already are stiff drinkers, then seal us for thy jolly skinkers.
Wine, wine, O juice divine, how dost thou the noel refine?
A lump thou makest men's ruby faces, and from girls canst fetch embraces.
By thee our noses swell with sparkling carbuncle.
Oh, the dear blood of grapes turns us to antic shapes, now to show tricks like apes.
Now lie like to roar.
Now goatishly to whore.
Now hoggishly in the mire.
Now flinging hats in the fire.
And they all sing, Io Bacchus, at thy table, makers of thy reeling rabble exuent. So, I think for the first time we can genuinely say in this play we've got the kind of shtick that we've had John Lyly doing before, which is here are some servant-type characters doing some servant-type interactions with excess Latin and an awful lot of stuff that is going, I need 5 minutes to figure out precisely what they're actually saying. The opening of the scene was really straightforward and really nice. I just sort of loved that. I'm on a mission. I need to find X. I'm on a mission. I need to find Y. X, Y, isn't it great? We're on the same mission. Isn't this fabulous? And it's just lovely. And this almost question, are they actually saying what they've got to do at the same time? I was half wondering, are they actually literally, rather than one after the other, is it actually like 1, 2, 3? Moment, which I quite liked as a possibility. I'm not saying that is what's happening there, but yeah, and then it turned into business. And I was going, I need to check a lot more footnotes here to figure out what the hell is going on, and the glosses are not necessarily helping me. And there's a lot of Latin, and the Latin is central to the jokes that are being played. It's not like they're just quoting a line and you can just sort of pass it by, which sort of what was going on earlier. It really is integrated, making it a really, really tricky scene to decode a lot of the time. Apart from, yes, everyone's sort of having fun. I sort of got that after the first page or so. Thoughts from the room? Anyone have... lots of thoughts. Excellent. I'll start Briony, then Tamara, then Francis.
First off, just to really quickly mention, we did get our hair, the shave and the razor. It was in there. I love that. But the thing that really got me is I think my character had a crotch grab moment. There was a line about touching a halfpenny, and I feel like that's a crotch grab moment because the next line is something about me not even having a farthing, and that really excited me.
There was definitely some sort of bodily contact there.
I've got a lovely gloss on that because I was thinking exactly the same thing, and the editor for this edition. In the context, I suspect the presence of a sexual pun. Being really, it's
matron.
Yes, I'm currently looking at a Penguin for Tudor comedies, and so that's Stephen is waving the Revels edition around, so we might be able to compare notes on what other glosses we have. We are sponsored by neither of these products. Tamara, then Francis, then Stephen.
Well, I was just going to comment on the fact that I really listened to this scene rather than watching everybody, and it flows so nicely, even though you don't necessarily get the jokes, just that people are having fun. There is such a lovely flow to the dialogue, and yeah, I mean, there's obviously physical business in this. That you can tickle out or don't even need to because it's really apparent. And like I said, the Latin didn't feel like I had to understand it necessarily to understand that it's funny.
Yeah, there's a nice conviviality to this play continuing. Francis.
Yeah, just sort of following on from what Tamara said. I was thinking, we're reading this play aloud, we're not watching it. And if we were watching it and you had this scene in the hands of 4 skillful actors, you don't necessarily need to understand every single word that they're saying. It would just be, it could just be wonderful, just following the rhythm, because it has a really lovely rhythm to it. Yeah.
Stephen?
I just thought I'd get all Revels on your ass. Then this is the verses I pointed, cum malaper longas invaluere moras. Actually, the meaning of it, according to the Revels, is completely irrelevant because it has the word longas, at which point you point at somebody who is long and has an ass. And then the other one is moras. So... It's just, you don't need to, the Latin has got nothing to do with the gag.
That particular bit of it.
That particular
bit of Latin.
Yeah, there's loads of other Latin, which is kind of Latin tags, but that is just purely, they've picked the quote for the joke.
Yeah.
Excellent. Other thoughts? We also got a song, first properly indicated song of the thing. We always like a nice sing song. That's what the boys are for, is to sing beautifully. And again, it's the younger apprentice servant characters who turn up and do comedy business and then do a song. So it's really calling back to some of those earlier Lyly plays, and that we haven't seen fully formed in any of the, I think, the last 2 or 3 Lylys that we've been looking at. So it's nice. It's nice. Rachael.
No, I was just gonna what everybody's saying, that I think the relationship between these, I wasn't here yesterday, but I think the relationship between these people is really good, and that there's a lot of joke, mockery in here, because they know each other well, and this is just a very familiar way of speaking for them, that they're just taking it, that they're just making jokes of each other, going around and making jokes of each other in a good-natured way, I think.
Yes, it's always easy to insult your friends. That's what they're for, and you're able to do that, and the fact that I just love the way the scene opens with these 2 people who are just really quite delighted, to actually see each other and go, yes, you're exactly the person I need right now. And you don't always get that in plays. It's just really nice. Anyway, we need to move on. Hold on to any thoughts you may have had that you haven't been able to articulate. We're going to have an awful lot of people now entering alone and then exiting and then entering alone. So, entering alone, number 1, please. Enter Memphio alone.
I marvel I hear no news of Dromio. Either he slacks the matter or betrays his master. I dare not motion anything to Stellio till I know what my boy hath done. I'll hunt him out. If the loiter-sack be gone springing into a tavern, I'll fetch him reeling out.
And he exits. Enter Stellio alone.
Without doubt, Risio hath gone beyond himself in casting beyond the moon. Sorry, script issue. Without doubt, Risio had gone beyond himself in casting beyond the moon. I feared the boy had been run mad with studying, for I know he loved me so well that for my favour he will venture to run out of his wits. And it may be to quicken his invention he's gone into this ivy bush, a notable nest for a grape owl. I'll ferret him out, yet in the end use him friendly. I cannot be merry until I hear what's done in the marriages.
And exit Stellio. Enter Prisius alone.
Yes?
Ooh, have I not given out a Prisius? I have not given out a Prisius. Who fancies being a Prisius? Obviously, they only do one speechette. Briony, be a Prisius. You were the Prisius yesterday, weren't you?
I was. Continuity. Although we're not with the hair. Anyway. I think Lucio be gone a squirreling, but I'll squirrel him for it. I sent him on my errand, but I must go for an answer myself. I have tied up the loving worm, my daughter, and will see whether fancy can worm fancy out of her head. This green nosegay, I fear, my boy hath smelt too, for if he get but a penny in his purse, he turns it so suddenly to argentum pottabile, I must search every place for him, for I stand on thorns till I hear what he hath done.
And exit Prisius. Enter Sperantus alone.
Well, here's maybe there's no banning. I think I've charmed my young master. A hungry meal, a ragged coat, and a dry cudgel have put him quite beside his love and his logic too. Beside, pig sneers put up, and therefore now I'll let him take the air and follow Stellio's daughter with all his learning, if he mean to be my heir. The boy hath wit sans measure, more than needs, cat's meat and dog's meat enough for the vantage. Well, without halfpenny, all my wit is not worth of dogkin. That mite is milching in this grove, for as long as his name is halfpenny, he will be banqueting for the other halfpenny.
And exit Sperantus. So, just briefly, just a note, we've basically got all the fathers. I've not got any of them muddled up. So we've had servant characters having a bit of a together time, and then all these disparate fathers just coming on And so it actually has an interesting, even though there's just a series of speeches, a sort of interesting momentum to that of them going shum 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 shum, which I quite like. Briefly, any thoughts on that before we go forward? If anyone has anything to add to that little bit, it's almost more like a mini recap than it is an extension of anything, isn't it? Just to remind us who everyone is. Aliki, did you want to jump in, and then Briony?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to say. Structurally, it's pretty daring. It's like, remember these guys? This one, and this one, and this one. Boom.
Yeah. Briony?
Yeah, but they've peppered it with all these wonderful, ridiculous similes and things of squirreling and worms and all sorts of fun stuff going on.
Yeah, I like loiter's sack. Is a nice you don't hear often enough, isn't it? If the loiter's hack be gone into springing into a tavern, I'll fetch him reeling out. You just can't get the staff, can you? You just can't get the staff. Okay. Oh, Helen.
Yeah, I've lost the plot. Sperantus has baffled me completely. Who is this boy who means to be his heir? Is it his son?
Yeah, it is Sperantus, the father of Candius, yes.
Right, so the mention of Halfpenny is quite by the way. It has nothing to do with the character Halfpenny.
Well, is Halfpenny his servant?
Halfpenny is servant to Sperantus, I think.
Hmm. So he's complaining about his son and also complaining about how useless his servant is.
Oh, right. Got it. Oh, I see. So he moves from one boy to another. Right. Got you.
So yes, we've got lots of plates up in the air, and it seems that the playwright is important. It's important to the playwright to keep reminding us which characters are in play. It's actually slightly more confusing for us because we're focusing on text rather than this is the person we visually saw a few minutes ago who was also saying text. So sometimes this is where, by explaining the plot as we go along, we actually bamboozle ourselves rather than explicate things. It does happen. Other thoughts? No, lovely. We will move on. So that was a mini scene in Act 2. We're now going to return to Candius, who we have met earlier, and he's going to be joined in a moment by Silena, who I don't think we've physically met yet, but we have heard of. So enter Candius.
He must needs go that the devil drives. Father, fiend, seeks to place affection by appointment and to force love by compulsion. I have sworn to woo Silena. It shall be so coldly that she takes as small delight in my words as I do contentment in his commandment, and teach him one school trick in love. But behold, who is that cometh out of Stellio's house? Should seem to be Silena by her attire.
And enter Silena here.
By her face, I am sure it is she. Oh, fair face. Oh, lovely countenance. Now, Candius, if thou begin to slip at beauty on a sudden, thou wilt surf it with carousing it at the last. Remember that Livia is faithful, and let thine eyes witness is amiable. Here shall I please my father and myself. I will learn to be obedient, and will make a way. If she seems coy, I'll practice all the art of love, if cunning and pleasures.
My name is Silena. I care not who know it, so I do not. My father keeps me close, so he does. And now I have stolen out. So I have. To go to old Bombie to know my fortune. So I will. For I have as fair a face as ever trod on shoe sole, and as free a foot as ever looked with two eyes.
I think she's lunatic or foolish. Thou art a fool, Candius. So fair a face cannot be the scabbard of a foolish mind. Mad, she may be, for commonly in beauty so rare there falls passions extreme. Love and beauty disdain a mean, not therefore because beauty is no virtue, but because it is happiness. And we scholars know that virtue is not to be praised, but honored. I will put on my best grace. Sweet wench, thy face is lovely, thy body comely, and all the eyes can see enchanting. You see now, unacquainted, I am bold to board you.
My father boards me already. Therefore, I care not if your name were Geoffrey.
She raves or overreaches. I am one sweet soul that loves you, brought hither by report of your beauty, and here languisheth with your rareness.
I thank you that you would call.
I will always call on such a saint that hath power to release my sorrows. Yield, fair creature, to love.
I am none of that sect.
Thy loving sect is an ancient sect and an honourable, and therefore should be in a person so perfect.
Much.
I love thee much. Give me one word of comfort.
Oh, in faith, no, sir, no. And so tell your master.
I have no master, but come to make choice of a mistress.
Aha. Are you there with your bears?
Doubtless she is an idiot, the newest cut. I'll once more try her. I have loved thee long, Silena.
In your tubber hose.
Simple to be natural, senseless to be artificial. You said you went to know your fortune. I am a scholar and am cunning in palmistry.
The better for you, sir. Here's my hand. What's o'clock?
Wine of life is good. Venus Mount, very perfect. You shall have a scholar to your first husband.
You are well seen in Crane's dirt. Your father was a poulterer. Ha, ha, ha.
Why laugh you?
Because you should see my teeth.
Alas, poor wretch, I see now also thy folly. A fair fool is like a fresh weed, pleasing leaves and sour juice. I will not yet leave her. She may dissemble. I cannot choose but love thee.
I had thought to ask you.
Nay, then farewell. Either too proud to accept or too simple to understand.
You need not be crusty. You're not so hard-baked.
No, I perceive thy folly, who hath raked together all the old blind phrases that help them that know not how to discourse. But when they cannot answer wisely, either with glibing cover their rudeness, or by some new coined byword bewray their peevishness. I'm glad of this. Now shall I have colour to refuse the match, and my father reason to accept Livia. I will home, and repeat to my father our wise encounter, and he shall perceive there is nothing so fulsome as a she-fool.
And exit Candius.
Good God, I think gentlemen had never less wit in a year. We maids are mad wenches. We gird them and flout them out of all scotch and notch, and they cannot see it. I will know of the old woman whether I be a maid or no. And then, if I be not, I must needs be a man.
Knocks at Mother Bombie's door.
God be here.
Enter Mother Bombie.
Who's there?
One that would be a maid.
If thou be not, it is impossible thou shouldst be, and ashamed thou art not.
They say you are a witch.
They lie. I am a cunning woman.
Then tell me something.
Hold up thy hand, not so high. Thy father knows thee not, thy mother bare thee not. Falsely bred, truly begot. Choice of two husbands, but never tied in bands, because of love and natural bonds.
I thank you for nothing, because I understand nothing. Though you be as old as you are, yet I am as young as I am, and because that I am so fair, therefore you are so foul. And so farewell, Frost, my fortune naught me cost.
And exit Silena.
Farewell, fair fool. Little dost thou know thy hard fortune, but in the end thou shalt, and that must I bewray what none can discover. In the mean season, I will profess cunning for all comers.
And exit Mother Bombie. So we get to the end of the scene, and all sorts of questions that we quietly walked past last time come leaping out into the open for discussion and thoughts about what one is to do with this kind of material. Thoughts from the room. I'll start on the side of Candius. He's a faithful chap. Wandering along, and I like you. Yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah, he's not exactly remembering his sworn love for Livia here. Yeah, Stephen.
Just looking at the character of whatever her name is, God, not Salinas, is it? Selena. It reminded me a bit in what we read yesterday. There were a couple of very obvious nods to this is boys playing a caricature. One was to the beard and somebody coughing into a big beard, but there was another one even before that where somebody refers to a boy as being almost bald and having wispy hair. So there's this kind of kid with this sort of bald wig on, and it strikes me here you could have a similarly caricatured female. So it would be a boy playing a particular caricature. I mean, the one that sprang to mind would be, a kind of very, very ditzy Marilyn Monroe sort of figure. But it's a what's the word? I can't. It's a particular piece of business. In other words, it's a particular physical caricature, and the play seems to be. If this is the case, that would fit with the play really flagging those up. It's really boys, which it's definitely done twice before with the bald wig and with the beard.
And of course we have the wise woman who is wise in Mother Bombie here.
And she's a woman as well.
Yes. Oh, you do know her then. Oh, good. Other thoughts, Francis?
Yeah, there were two little details in that scene which made me wonder if they were foreshadowing something. I mean, right at the start, Candius recognizes Silena by her attire. And I just wondered, are we going to get, does that foreshadow some, disguising taking place later on in the play? And similarly, towards the end of it, Selena says, where is it? I must needs be a man. I just wondered, does that foreshadow Selena disguising herself as a man later on? Because we've seen that in these early modern plays before.
Yeah, I mean, it's been ages since we had anyone disguised as somebody else. I mean, a whole 24 hours has passed. Actually, less than that. We had some of that last night. I mean, that might indeed be the case. Let us all mark this prediction. Other thoughts? Helen?
Yeah, I mean, I like Stephen's idea of ditzy. Seriously dumb blonde, caricatured dumb blonde would be so much better to do than someone who brain damaged.
Well, yeah, there is a serious question here about because they're talking about natural falls and artificial falls. We're stepping into the question of neurodiversity, and that changes the entire thrust of what the play is trying to do. And it stops being a play that is just a comedy doing comedy things, and being a play that is about something, and that becomes much more problematic. In trying to balance those elements and deciding what we might be doing with that today. Whether that sidestepping works or not, I don't know. That's a question for production and questions of how that works. Aliki.
Well, I noticed that what's his face? I'm sorry, the guy I was reading, Candius. Candius says she's too something to be natural. And I was wondering what that meant. He seems to... Sorry.
She's too simple to be natural, too senseless to be artificial.
Yeah.
So it's too simple if to be a genuine natural fool, too senseless to be an artificial fool. It's sort of in its own right nonsense.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, she seems to... What we know of her life story is that she's been mewed up forever, right? She's been locked up. So maybe she is also just, naive and clueless about the world. And whatever kind of neurological damage you suffer from being locked up for your life.
Yes, but that then once again moves us slightly away from comedy.
I know.
Helen.
Yes, I mean, I thought at first that he was saying, can anybody that beautiful be that dumb? But he isn't actually. He's saying, I haven't a clue whether this is real or she's playing games with me.
And of course, we don't know yet. It may indeed be that this is all some sort of ongoing ruse situation. Briony, then Helen again.
Sorry to intrude on the sensibleness of what you're discussing, because it is very important, but I don't want the crusty line to get lost in that, because that was just comedy gold. You need not be too crusty. You need not be crusty. You are not so hard-baked. Brilliant.
Oh yeah, there's some very, very nice lines in that. And again, nice little visual gags as well, hold up thy hand. Not that high. It's there are nice gags throughout this, and it is a question of pitching and how it functions. Helen.
Yeah, the recognizing of her as she comes out of the house is purely on account of the way she's dressed, because a girl of that age, the daughter of the master of the household, will be dressed quite differently from the servants. And anybody else who might come out.
And plus, nobody's necessarily actually seen, if she has been kept secret in the house, so that's the suggestion of both her and the suggested other.
Well, yes,
other.
Except that she's been shown at the window so that people can fall in love with her without realising how dim she is.
Francis.
Yeah, so Helen, in that case, would she have a certain sort of uniform, as it were, as the daughter of a rich man or well-off man?
Well, not so much. It would be the quality of the fabric.
Right, okay.
And possibly also the cut.
Yeah.
And as an unmarried girl, her hair would probably be loose.
Right.
Other thoughts, but otherwise we're going to move forward and find out some more data and see what we can make of it. We're going to go to Act 2, Scene 4. We have Dromio, we have Risio, we have Lucio, we have Halfpenny.
We're all taken tardy.
Our masters will be overtaken if they tarry.
Now must everyone by wit make an excuse, and every excuse must be cozenage.
Let us remember our complot.
We will all plod on that. Oh, the wine hath turned my wit to vinegar.
You mean 'tis sharp?
Sharp. I'll warrant 'twill serve for as good sauce to knavery as
what?
As thy knavery's meat for his wit.
We must all give a reckoning for our day's travel.
Tush! I'm glad we escaped the reckoning for our liquor. If you be examined how we met, swear by chance, for so they met, and therefore will believe it. If how much we drunk, let them answer themselves. They know best, because they paid it.
We must not tarry. Beum dum est mihi. I must go and cast this matter in a corner.
Aye, pray say qua, a bowl. I'll come after with a broom. Everyone remember his cue.
Aye, and his K, or else we shall thrive ill.
When shall we meet?
Tomorrow, fresh and fasting.
Fast eating our meat. We've drunk for tomorrow, and tomorrow we must eat for today.
No way. No way. If our masters take us here, the matter is marred.
Let us everyone to his task.
And they exit. I really like this scene. They've all skipped and gone to the pub. And they are all quite drunk. It looks like they skipped the bill as well.
Yeah.
You escape the reckoning of our liquor. One of them goes and cast this matter in a corner. So, and the other one says he'll come after with a broom. So there's a lot of, this is really nice little sketch of young men having just come out of the pub, somewhat half cut, and just remember our stories, and just nice little jokes. I'd like, everyone remember his Q, I and his K. I'm sorry, that's a terrible joke. I love it. Any additional thoughts on servants being drunk, or just in passing? Just throw that out there. Otherwise, we will just move relatively quickly forward. Emma and then Helen.
I didn't get the Q and the K joke.
Mind your P's and Q's.
That wasn't what I was thinking.
Alphabet humour.
Okay.
Yeah, so in terms of remembering our story, remember our Q, and then the other one just says any random letter.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Could have been Z. Could have been any letter he likes. Helen.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to assume these are boys rather than young men. But of course, there weren't any licensing law. Well, there were loads of licensing laws, but kids, there was nothing particular about the age at which you could drink. And children drank beer, and until quite modern times, small beer. But these have been drinking wine, which I'm sure they wouldn't normally get. They would normally be drinking small beer, which would make them far more drunk if they weren't used to it.
So, let us move on. Act 2, Scene 5. Let's complete Act 2. Lots of scenes, lots of action, lots of things have been going on. We have now the entrance of, and Briony, I think, who can continue being Prisius, who you were reprising earlier. I think that's okay. I think that works with your doubling. Enter Memphio, Stellio, Prisius, and Sperantus.
Oh, luckily we met on a sudden in a tavern that drunk not together almost these 30 years.
A tavern is the rendezvous, the exchange, or the stable for good fellows. I've heard my great-grandfather tell how his great-grandfather should say that it was an old proverb when his great-grandfather was a child, that it was a good wind that blew a man to the wine.
The old time was a good time. Ale was an ancient drink and accounted of our ancestors authentical. Gascoigne wine was liqueur for a lord, sack a medicine for the sick. And I may tell you, he that had a cup of red wine to his oysters was hoisted in the Queen's subsidy book.
But now you see what looseness this age is grown. Our boys carouse sack like double beer, and say that which doth an old man good can do a young man no harm. Old men, say they, eat pap. Why should not young men drink sack? Their white heads have counted time out of mind to our young years.
Well, the world is wanton since I knew it first. Our boys put as much wine in their bellies in an hour as would clothe their whole bodies in a year. We have paid for their tippling 8 shillings, and, as I have heard it, it was as much as brought Rufus, sometime king of this land, a pair of hose.
Is't possible?
Nay, 'tis true. They say ale is out of request. 'Tis hog's porridge, broth for beggars, and caudle for constables, watchmen's mouth glue. The better it is, the more like bird lime it is, and never makes one stayed but in the stocks.
I'll teach my wag halter to know grapes from barley.
And mine to discern a spigot from a faucet.
And I mine to judge the difference between a black bowl and a silver goblet.
And mine shall learn the odds between a stand and a hogshead. Yet I cannot choose but laugh to see how my wag answered me when I struck him first drinking sack.
Why, what said he?
Master, 'tis the sovereignest drink in the world, and the safest for all times and weathers. If it thunder, though the ale and beer in the town turn, it will be constant. If it lighten, and that any fire come to it, it is the aptest wine to burn, and the most wholesomest when it is burnt. So much for summer. If it freeze, why is it so hot in operation that no ice can congeal it? If it rain, then he that cannot abide the heat of it may put in water. So much for winter. And so ran his way, but I'll overtake him.
Who would think my hop of the thumb halfpenny, scarce so high as a pint pot, would reason the matter? But he learned his leer of my son, his young master. I'm brought up at Oxford, and I think must learn here in Kent of Ashford.
Why, what said he?
He boldly rapped it out, signed sine sincere e bacco frigit Venus. Without wine and sugar, his veins would wax cold.
They were all in a pleasant vein, but I must be gone and take account of my boy's business. Farewell, neighbours. God knows when we shall meet again. Yet I have discovered nothing. My wine hath been my wit's friend. I long to hear what Dromio hath done.
And exit Memphio.
I cannot stay, but this good fellowship shall cost me the setting on our next meeting. I'm glad I blabbed nothing of the marriage. Now I hope to compass it. I know my boy hath been bungling about it.
Exit Stellio.
Let us all go, for I must to my clothes that hang on the tenters. My boy shall hang with them if he answer me not his day's work.
And exit Prisius.
All be gone, I'll not stale. Halfpenny, I'm sure, hath done me a pennyworth of good. Else I'll spend his body in buying a rod.
And exit Sperantus. And so, yeah, here we have a sort of continuing, ongoing parade of people coming out of this pub. I've done a roaring trade today. So all the masters, all the fathers, gathering together and talking about my goodness me, what are the youth, what are the young today up to? They're drinking wine, just because they've seen us doing it. Oh, phew. I do like this. The beer's out. Ale is out of request. Watchman's mouth glue. That's nice. Lots of really nice things there. So the sequence of scenes, even getting these relatively short scenes, but they're all sort of conversing with each other, and even if the plot itself hasn't necessarily advanced in a big way, we've just got little movements. This is a very rich world that we're living in. Briony. Muted at present. Yeah.
They're just packing so much in, like the jokes, the information, like the pace of it as well. It just, it feels like it's really got some momentum, this piece.
We got a bit of data also on halfpenny is not as scarce so high as a pint pot, so we can assume that of all the boys is the most boyish of them in terms of height. Alan.
I must admit, with these 4 old boys there, I could not get the image of the 4 Yorkshiremen sketch out of my head. You know, weren't like that in our young days.
Yeah. Yes, that sense of, they're trying to turn it, the young trying to turn it around on them, and them turning around. It's all in conjunction. Helen.
Yes, and they go right the way back to William Rufus.
Hmm.
And that's a stretch.
Well, it's recent history to them.
No. But it's 8 shillings for a pair of hose. They must be pretty wonderful hose at 8 shillings a pair.
Well, yeah, unless it's simply about because they keep growing, they have to keep buying them more pairs. So is it that's as a single hose or as an overall cost? You know what young people are like. Keep growing, they get bigger.
Yes,
just bought you a pair of hose.
Yeah, but they've paid 8 shillings for their drink. And that 8 shillings would buy William Rufus a pair of hose in the old days.
Mm.
Maybe he had very fancy hose. He
Right.
probably did. He was a king.
Yeah, kingly hose. Francis.
Yeah, I just noticed that right at the beginning of the scene, Memphio said something like, "Isn't it funny? Here we are in the tavern all together, and we've never drunk together for 30 years." I mean, Lyly doesn't even come up with some simple pretext why they should all be in the tavern coincidentally at the same time. He just seems to trust in the mechanics of the play structure.
Well, it's something he's done throughout this play. Is every time people are coming on stage, they come on with this bold opening line to grab you by the ears, or just to set up the situation. It's boy, there are 3 things that make my life miserable. For one scene, Risio, my daughter, is passing amiable but very simple for another. And almost every one of these, if I could meet with Risio, it's stating the intention of the scene almost in the first line. That seems deliberate because it keeps happening. So yeah, absolutely. There's no subtlety here. They're not interested in subtlety. Just we've got to keep the plot ticking over. Yeah. Alan.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, it's slightly odd that they've ended up in the same pub as the 4 servants, without having been a major bust-up, given the previous scene where all of the elders were basically saying, "I'm going to find my servant, find out what he's playing at."
Well, it depends on what the circumstances is. It might be that they all meet up because they've all just been sent the bill for their servants drinking earlier, and that some time has passed. They have just hit one of them for drinking sack because he quotes extensively as to his excuse. So maybe there was a bit of a Barney there, and that these scenes are effectively continuous. The masters have turned up and turfed them out, and then continued drinking. Had a swift half. Maybe the masters had just had a quick one. We haven't done this for ages. Anyway, that's Act 2. Let us discover Act 3. We have 2 characters we've not met before coming on stage all at the same time. I wonder if they'll explain who they are really clearly the moment they enter on as their opening line. That'd be really helpful. So this is the final son we haven't met yet. This is the son of Memphio, and this is Serena, who is the daughter to Stellio. So I don't think we've met either. Have we met either of these? I don't think we have. I could be wrong. So anyway, final people to come on stage. Act 3, Scene 1.
Sweet sister, I know not how it cometh to pass, but I find in myself passions more than brotherly.
And I, dear brother, find my thoughts entangled with affections beyond nature, which so flame into my distempered head, that I can neither without danger smother the fire, nor without modesty disclose my fury.
I'm just going to pause us there.
Who saw this coming?
Yeah, I was just saying, he likes to throw in a really sort of sit up and listen opening line of dialogue to each scene, and there might have been a mini act break here. There might have been music between acts while they reset things and trim candles. So, welcome to Act 3, people.
Incest!
Yay! Okay, let's. They've both declared that they're a bit hot to trot. Maestius, continue, please.
Our parents are poor, our love unnatural. What can then happen to make us happy?
Only to be content with our father's mean estate, to combat against our own intemperate desires, and yield to the success of fortune, who, though she hath framed us miserable, cannot make us monstrous.
It is good counsel, fair sister, if the necessity of love could be relieved by counsel. Yet this is our comfort, that these unnatural heats have stretched themselves no further than thoughts. Unhappy me, that they should stretch so.
That which nature warranteth laws forbid. Strange it seemeth in sense, that because thou art mine, therefore thou must not be mine.
So it is, Serena. The nearer we are in blood, the further we must be from love. And the greater the kindred is, the less the kindness must be. So that between brothers and sisters, superstition hath made affection cold. Between strangers, custom hath bred love exquisite.
They say there is hard by an old cunning woman, who can tell fortunes, expound dreams, tell of things that be lost, and divine of accidents to come. She is called the good woman, who yet never did hurt.
Nor any good, I think, Serena, yet to satisfy thy mind we will see what she can say.
Good brother, let us.
Who is within?
Enter Mother Bombie.
The dame of the house.
She might have said the beldam for her face and years and attire.
Good mother, tell us, if by your cunning you can, what shall become of my brother and me?
Let me see your hands, and look on me steadfastly with your eyes. You shall be married tomorrow, hand in hand, and by the laws of God, nature, and the land. Your parents shall be glad and give you their land. You shall each of you displace a fool, and both together must relieve a fool. If this be not true, then call me an old fool.
This is my sister. Marry we cannot. Our parents are poor and have no land to give us. Each of us is a fool to come for counsel to such an old fool.
These doggerel rhymes and obscure words coming out of the mouth of such a weather-beaten witch are thought divinations of some holy spirit, being but dreams of decayed brains. For mine own part, I would thou mightest sit on that stool till he and I marry by law.
I say Mother Bombie never speaks but once, and yet never spake untruth. Once.
Come, brother, let us to our poor home. This is our comfort, to bewray our passions, since we cannot enjoy them.
Content, sweet sister, and learn of me hereafter that these old sores of such old hags are but false fires to lead one out of a plain path into a deep pit.
And they exit. So, yeah. All hands straight up, straight away. Rachael.
No, I was just gonna say, it reminds me of John Ford, 'Tis pity she's a whore. Just straight into it. No, just straight into it. Doesn't even beat around the bush at all.
Yeah, Ford's play similarly just opens with father priest confessor figure. Hi, I'm really horny for my sister. Is that okay? Does God have an opinion on that? And oddly enough, yeah, it goes horribly wrong. Spoilers there. Briony and then Stephen, I think.
Obviously, I've not read as many of these as a lot of you guys, but I just wanted to say well done to Tamara and Rachael for reading that so well, because it was gross. In context, like.
It was also very funny. Stephen, you're muted at the moment.
I think one of the reasons I found it those opening lines so funny is it's an escalation, isn't it, from the previous scene, which I think it was Robert already noticed. You know, who'd have thought we'd all be sat here in the pub? We never meet in the pub. And then the next one is even more unlikely, but dramatic cliche. Well, who'd have thought? Here we are, you know, brother and sister, and we can't get married. Who'd have thought it? Eh? You know, there's this kind of it takes off like a rocket. And so there's all this kind of knowing winks to the audience, I think. So I think the reason for me that it is so funny is it comes after something which is obviously artificial and there for the plot. And they've just got, no, not enough plot yet, is there? Right, let's do something even bigger.
Yeah, and nobody saw it coming, did you? You can honestly say you didn't see that coming, did you? Yeah, and we've you know, Mother Bombie says it's going to be fine, and I trust Mother Bombie, so that's fine as the kind of figure that goes back all the way into the mists of storytelling and early drama in English, going all the way back to Dame Serif. You know, I trust Mother Bombie. It'll be fine. Francis.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about Mother Bombie is she doesn't take any pecuniary compensation for her services.
Yeah.
Yes, no, that's true. And at the back of my mind, I'm sort of contrasting her with Medusa in was it Misogynous? The other week?
No, was it earlier than that? No, it was another one.
It was
Red Triumphs? Or Fidel Infortunio?
Fidel Infortunio.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, Medusa was a real saleswoman.
Mm.
Yeah.
Whereas Bombie's really, really hardcore. It's, you know, just I only speak once.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you get. One go and move on.
Yeah.
No returns. So yeah, I mean, for all we know, that, you know, she's there and it's you know, it's tap and pay. But you know, it's we don't know. But there's certainly no money's been mentioned. It's certainly the first one. There's no option of money, an expectation of money. So maybe Mother Bombie is just simply a walking plot device. Helen.
Selena specifically says that she hasn't paid.
Mm.
Oh, right. I missed that.
Mm.
Yeah. She specifically says that she I mean, I don't think she likes the advice, but she definitely says she hasn't paid for it.
Mm. So anyway, we need to move on and gather more data on Act 3 because, hey, after that opening, what's going to happen next? Act 3, Scene 2, and we have the entrance of Dromio and Risio.
Ingenium quondam fuerit pretiosus oro. The time was wherein wit would work like wax and crock up gold like honey.
At nunc haberes est grandis habere nihil, but now wit and honesty buy nothing in the market.
What, Risio, how spedst thou after thy potting?
Nay, my master wrung all in the tavern, and thrust all out in the house. But how speedst thou?
Aye, it were a day's work to discourse it. He spake nothing but sentences, for they were vengeable long ones. For when one word was out, he made pause of a quarter long, till he spake another.
Why, what did he in all that time?
Break interjections like wind, like oh.
And what thou?
Well, I answered him in his own language, like yes, for he.
These were conjunctions rather than interjections. But what of the plot?
Well, as we concluded, I told him that we understood that Selena was very wise and could sing exceedingly. And my device was seeing Accius's son, proper youth, could also sing sweetly, that he should come in the nick when she was singing and answer her.
Excellent.
Then he asked how it should be devised that she might come abroad. I told him that was cast already by my means. Then, the song being ended, and they seeing one another, noting the apparel, thanking the personages, he should call his own son in, for fear he should overreach his speech.
Very good.
Then, that I'd got a young gentleman that resembled his sons in years and favour, that having Accius apparel, should court Selena, whom she, finding wise, would after that by small entreaty be won, without many words. And so the marriage clapped up by this cousinage, and his son never speak word for himself.
Thou boy. So have I done in every point for the song, the calling her in, and the hoping that another shall woo Accius, and his daughter wed him. I told him this wooing should be tonight, and they early married in the morning, without any words saving to say after the priest.
All this fudge is well. Now, if Halfpenny and Lucio have played their parts, we shall have excellent sport. And here they come. Are all the wine, my lads?
And enter Halfpenny and Lucio.
How? Like wine, my body being the rundelet, and my mouth the vent, it wrought 2 days over, till I had thought the hoops of my head would have flown asunder.
Apologies, it's reloading and I have to find the place. It stopped literally at my entrance. Thanks, script.
The script knows you too well. You see, it's plotting against you. It's a genuine thing. So we have this plot going on while we're briefly paused of people singing and wooing and disguisings and things. So you know, it's all complicated explaining of plot, which hopefully is all sinking in well. And going well. Aliki, are you with us? Okay, Lucio continues. You've just muted yourself, unfortunately.
The best was our masters were as well whittled as we, yet they lie by it.
The better for us. We did but a little parboil our livers. They have sod theirs in sack these 40 years.
It makes them spit white broth as they do. But to the purpose Candius and Livia will send their attires. You must send the apparel of Maestius and Serena. They wander wherefore, but commit the matter to our quadruped wit.
If you keep promise to marry them by your device and your parents' consent, you shall have 10 pounds apiece for your pains.
If we do it not, we are undone, for we have broached a cozenage already, and my master hath the tap in his hand that it must needs run out. Let them be ruled, bring hither their apparel, and we will determine. The rest commit to our intricate considerations. Depart.
Exeunt Halfpenny and Lucio to nurse whatever hangovers they've got. Enter Accius and Silena.
Here comes Accius, tuning his pipes. I perceive my master's keeps touch.
And here comes Selena with her wit of proof. Marry, it will scarce hold out question shot. Let us in to instruct our masters in their cue.
Come, let us be jogging. We're not a world to hear them woo one another.
That shall be hereafter to make us sport, but our masters shall never know it.
And they exit. Silena and Accius now sing a song versus who precisely is singing what at what time is possibly variable, but we will go with what I've given out.
O Cupid, monarch over kings, wherefore hast thou feet and wings? It is to show how swift thou art when thou woundst a tender heart. Thy wings being clipped, thy feet held still, thy bow so many could not kill.
Oh, I probably haven't given out an Accius, have I? I'll just read that for the moment. It is all one in Venus' wanton school, who highest sits, the wise man or the fool. Fools in love's college have far more knowledge to read a woman over than a neat prattling lover. Nay, 'tis confessed that fools please women best. And enter Memphio and Stellio.
Yes, come in, and that quickly. What? Walking without leave?
Selena, I pray you look homeward. It is a cold air, and you want a muffler.
And exit Accius and Silena.
This is pat. If the rest proceed, Stellio is like to marry his daughter to a fool. But a bargain is a bargain.
This frames to my wish. Memphio is like to marry a fool to his son. Accius' tongue shall tie all Memphio's land to Selena's dowry. Let his father's teeth undo them if he can. But here I see Memphio. I must seem kind, for in kindness lies cozenage.
Well, here is Stellio. I'll talk of other matters and fly from the mark I shoot at, lapwing-like, flying far from the place where I nestle. Stellio! What make you abroad? I heard you were sick since our last drinking.
You see, reports are no truths. I heard the like of you, and we are both well. I perceive sober men tell most lies, for in vino veritas. If they had drunk wine, they would have told the truth.
Our boys will show they're never to lie, for they are ever swilling of wine. But, Stellio, I must strain courtesy with you. I have business. I cannot stay.
In good time, Memphio, for I was about to crave your patience to depart. It stands me upon. Perhaps I may move his patience ere it can be long.
Good, silly Stellio. We must buckle shortly.
And they exit. So we've got two things going on in this these scenes. We've got two people trying to trick each other and succeeding in tricking each other without realizing that they're themselves are being tricked at the same time, and trying in asides to say, ha 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 ha, I'll be really nice to him because he doesn't know he's being fooled. Ha 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 ha. We also have drunk servants and the aftermath, the question of who gets a hangover and who doesn't get a hangover, and I'm feeling we've with some of the material we've been gathering actually quite recently, we really do have Welcome to the Tavern show, don't we? We've got scenes in the tavern with gambling and drinking. We've got scenes as people leave the tavern, half cut. We've now got scenes of people nursing their hangovers the next day. We really have started to gather some really good tavern material. That makes me a very happy bunny. Other thoughts about what's going on in this scene, or these two scenes, before we go into our final leg of today's journey? Because we have but one more scene to do in this act. Ooh. Until tomorrow. Any thoughts about servants or masters or another lovely song? Another lovely song.
I was just going to say, there's a lot of like sort of shenanigans going on with like, oh yeah, you see that this is the face I am presenting to Memphio, and then like, oh yeah, but he's an idiot. But we're not talking about that. It's like they seem to just do entrances and exits with Stellio. Or in Memphio, there's no real like, well, I mean there is stage time, but I mean it's sort of coming in to enforce the plot to reinforce the plot rather than sort of, I don't know, be plot by itself.
Well, I like the yeah, you're absolutely right. That whole thing of it's all very, very solid clown work here, isn't it? Of playing the aside and then the face and the thing, because that can be played. You know, there's so many sort of moments that you can throw into that. It's very, very playable. Any other thoughts?
I think
Helen.
we've got one of these static sets of a street here where there are 4 or maybe even 5 doors on a tavern at the side, and everybody's popping in and out of their houses.
We can reuse that Bugbears set.
Yeah, and it's very Italian. This is a far more Italian play than other Lilies that we've had.
Oh, absolutely. And I say it's a nice coincidence that we're doing Supposes in the evening, and that we've done things like Bugbears in the past. I mean, it really is feeding into a past series of examples that, you know, this seems very much very carefully based upon. There doesn't seem to be somebody else's play that's being adapted here. I mean, it's using sources, but it doesn't seem to be. It does seem to be original. I don't know if there's more on that. Okay, let's go into. We've got a fairly chunky scene to close the session off. Lots of people turning up and appearing and disappearing. So we start with the appearance of Lucio, Halfpenny, and Rixula. And there's some cloves business, I think, going on here.
Come, Rixula. We have made thee privy to our whole pack. There, lay down the pack.
I believe, unless it be better handled, we shall out of doors.
I care not. Omnem solum forti patria. I can live in Christendom as well as in Kent.
And I'll sing Patria ubicunque bene. Every house is my home, where I may stand hunger.
Nay, if you set all on hazard, though I be a poor wench, I am as hardy as you both. I cannot speak Latin, but in plain English, if anything fall out cross, I'll run away.
He loves thee well that would run after.
Why, Halfpenny, there's no goose so grey in the lake that cannot find a gander for her make.
I love a nut brown lass, 'tis good to recreate.
Thou meanst a brown nut is good to crack.
Why would it not do thee good to crack such a nut?
I fear she is worm-eaten within. She is so mouth-eaten without.
If you take your pleasure of me, I'll in and tell your practices against your masters.
In faith, sour heart, he that takes his pleasure on thee is very pleasurable.
You mean knavishly, and yet I hope foul water will quench hot fire as soon as fair.
Well, then, let fair words cool that choler, which foul words hath kindled, and because we are all in this case, and hope all to have good fortune, sing a roundelay, and will help such as thou wast wont when thou beatedst Kemp.
It was crabs she stamped, and stole away one to make her a vase.
I agree, in hope that the hemp shall come to your wearing. A halfpenny halter may hang you both, that is, halfpenny, and you may hang in a halter.
Well brought about.
'Twill, when 'tis about your neck.
Nay, now she's in, she will never out.
Nor when your heads are in, as it is likely they should not come out. But hearken to my song.
And Rixula sings.
Full hard I did sweat when hemp I did beat, then thought I of nothing but hanging. The hemp being spun, my beating was done, then I wished for a noise of crack halter boys on those hempen strings to be twanging. Long looked I about the city throughout.
And the boys sing.
And found no such fiddling varlets.
Yes, at last coming hither I saw four together.
May thy hemp choke such singing harlots.
To which to woo the owl does cry, fip, fip, the sparrows as they fly, the goose does hiss, the duck cries quack, a rope, the parrot that holds tack.
The parrot and the rope be thine.
The hanging yours, but the hemp mine.
And enter Dromio and Risio, and carrying cloves of Accius and Silena.
Yonder stands the wags. I'm coming good time.
All here before me, you make haste.
I believe to hanging, for I think you have all robbed your masters. Here's every man his baggage.
That is, we are all with thee, for thou art a very baggage.
Hold thy peace, or of mine honesty I'll buy an halfpenny purse with thee.
Indeed, that's big enough to put thy honesty in. Come, shall we go about the matter?
Now it has come to the pinch, my heart pants.
I, for my heart, am resolute, in utrumque paratus, ready to die or to run away.
But hear me, I was troubled with a vile dream, and therefore it is little time spent to let Mother Bombie expound it. She is cunning in all things.
Then will I know my fortune.
And I'll ask for Silver Spoon, which was lost last day, which I must pay for.
And I'll know what will become of our devises.
And I.
Then let us all go quickly. We must not sleep in this business. Our masters are so watchful about it.
And off they go, knocking on the door of Mother Bombie, who enters.
Why do you rap so hard at the door?
Well, because we will come in.
Nay, my house is no inn.
Cross yourselves. Look how she looks.
Mark her not, she'll turn us all into apes.
What would you with me?
They say you're cunning and are called the Good Woman of Rochester.
If never to do harm, be to do good. I dare say I am not ill. But what's the matter?
I had an ill dream and desire to know the signification.
Dreams, my son, have their weight, though they be of a troubled mind, yet are they signs of fortune. Say on.
In the dawning of the day, for about that time, by my starting out of my sleep, I found it to be, methought I saw a stately piece of beef with a cape cloak of cabbage embroidered with pepper, having 2 honourable pages with hats of mustard on their heads, himself in great pomp sitting upon a cushion of white brewish lined with brown bread. Methought, being powdered, he was much troubled with the salt rheum, and therefore there stood by him 2 great flagons of wine and beer, the one to dry up his rheum, the other to quench his choler. I, as one envying his ambition, hungering and thirsting after his honour, began to pull his cushion from under him, hoping by that means to give him a fall, and with putting out my hand, I awakened and found nothing in all this dream about me but the salt rheum.
A dream for a butcher.
So soft, let me end it. Then I slumbered again, and methought there came a leg of mutton.
Oh, gross meat, a rack. That'd been dainty.
Thou fool, how could it come in unless it had been a leg? I thought his hose were cut and drawn out with parsley. I thrust my hand into my pocket for a knife, thinking to hox him, and so awaked.
Belike thou went supperless to bed.
So I do every night, but Sundays. Prisius hath a weak stomach, and therefore we must starve.
Well, take this for an answer. Though the dream be fantastical, they that in the morning sleep dream of eating, and are in danger of sickness, or of beating, or shall hear of a wedding fresh a beating.
This may be true.
Put it, nay. Then let me come in with a dream, short but sweet, that my mouth waters ever since I walked. Methought there sat upon a shelf 3 damask prunes in velvet caps, in pressed satin gowns like judges, and that there were a whole handful of currants to be arranged of riot, because they clung together in such clusters. 12 raisins of the sun were empaneled in a jury, and as a leaf of old mace, which was bailiff, was carrying the quest to consult, methought there came an angry cook, and gelded the judge of their stones, and swept both judges, jurors, rebels, and bailiff into a porridge pot, whereat I, being melancholy, fetched a deep sigh that waked myself and my bedfellow.
This was devised, not dreamt. The more foolish being no dream, for that dreams excuse the fantasticalness.
Then ask my bedfellow, you know him, who dreamt that night that the king of diamonds was sick.
But thy years and humours, pretty child, are subject to such fancies, which the more vincible they seem, the more fantastical they are. Therefore this dream is easy. To children, this is given from the gods, to dream of milk, fruit, babies, and rods. They betoken nothing, but that wantons must have rods.
10 to 1 thy dream is true, thou wilt be swinged.
Nay, Gamma, I pray you tell me who stole my spoon out of the buttery.
Thy spoon is not stolen, but mislaid. Thou art an ill huswife, though a good maid. Look for thy spoon where thou hadst like to be no maid.
Body of me, let me fetch the spoon. I remember the place.
Where thou once put it? Oh.
Lucio, how was it missed?
I didn't hear Rixula. So, okay, how was it missed?
I warrant for want of a miss. What's my fortune, mother?
Thy father doth live because he doth die. Thou hast spent all thy thrift with a die, and so, like a beggar, thou shalt die.
I would have liked well if all the Gerunds had been there. Dido and dumb, but all in die. That's too deadly.
My father indeed is a dyer, and I have been a dicer, but to die a beggar, give me leave not to believe Mother Bombie. And yet it may be. I have nothing to live by but knavery. If the world go honest, welcome beggary. What hast thou to say, Risio?
Nothing till I see whether all this be true that she hath said.
Risio would fain see thee beg.
Nay, mother, tell us this. What is all our fortunes? We are about a matter of legerdemain. How will it fadge?
You shall all thrive like cousiners, that is, to be cozened by cousiners, and all shall end well, and you be found cousiners.
Gramercy, Mother Bombie, we're all pleased, if you were for your pains.
I take no money, but good words. Rail not if I tell true. If I do not, revenge. Farewell.
Exit Bombie.
Now, we have nothing to do but go about this business. Accius apparel. Let Candius put on, and I will array Accius with Candius clothes.
Here is Selena's attire. Lucio, put it upon Livia, and give me Livia's for Selena. This done, let Candius and Livia come forth, and let Dromio and me alone for the rest.
What shall become of Accius and Silena?
Tush, their turn shall be next. All must be done orderly. Let's do it. For now it works.
And exit. So yes, they began the scene saying, we have a thing we need to get done. But let's go on a complete massive diversion on something that is largely unconnected with anything else, because it'll be fun. Mother Bombie, rail not if I tell true. If I do not, revenge. I want a big red spotlight suddenly coming down at that moment. And a dum-dum-dum. Flashpot exit. I just love that. And it's in the chat. A lot of people are asking the question I think we're all going to be asking. We're going to keep asking. It's going to be asked tomorrow. Where is the spoon? Where is the spoon? Will we ever find out where the spoon is?
That's all speculum. I mean, speculate.
It does remind me of a scene with Patsy in Absolutely Fabulous.
Well, I was thinking back to Gamma Gurton's needle. The entire thing is about where's the needle, where's his hair. It's a really nice takedown. It's just, oh God, someone's reading their dream diary. Oh no, they're all doing it now. Oh God, no. Servants obsessing about food again. Stephen.
I was just about to say the very thing. I mean, that there is this sort of well-established shtick, the comic shtick of hungry people just sort of doing Homer Simpson's, and there's a really, really long speech with lots of bits to it so that they can just ramp it up and ramp it up. And there's four of them. Only one speaking, but the other four. So I think it's it sort of sticks together in my mind with some of the other stuff I've been talking about. This is really a play of shticks, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we've got the plot. But Mother Bombie is very much Mother Bombie does serve a function in the sense of you are reassured, especially with moments of incest, that that there is a mechanism underneath all this which is going to make sure everything is fine. I have no terrors that this brother and sister are going to either get together or turn out to be brother and sister. It's going to be all Star Warsy, isn't it? Or not. It's one of the two. They'll either fly in a Han Solo or they'll not be brother and sister. I have no fear on this note. But who knows? Who knows? Aliki.
I think it's going to be the latter, because we already have from Mother Bombie's prophecy to Serena. Selena, I get the two girls mixed up. The one who went to see Mother Bombie. She was told something about how she was dishonestly begotten or something, or honestly begotten and dishonestly born. Somebody is not the father of the child he thinks he's the father of, is what I'm saying.
It may not be incest after all.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sure it'll all be fine, or they'll just it'll just be incest, and they'll all be burnt. I don't know, Briony.
Yeah, just that makes sense. We haven't had a lost child reveal yet in this, so yeah, there's room for one for sure. I'm just still really loving the language in this, like all the phrases and all the characters. It's not like it's even just the servants, because quite like sometimes you get where the servants have like all the best stuff to say, but they've all got some really interesting turn of phrase in this one.
And of course, the spoon is an important thing for this servant, because they mentioned very early, before we even get to the dreams, the spoon's lost, and this servant is expected to pay for it because he lost it.
It's a silver spoon. I mean,
Yeah, I'll ask for a silver spoon which was lost the other day, which I must pay for. So it's not just some idle, I've lost a spoon. This is actually an important thing, because he's going to be out of pocket, and as a servant, he probably doesn't have that much money to start with.
I think Rixula is female.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So I wasn't even paying attention. Who was obsessed with the spoon?
And there was a line. I think we did have a bit of a reveal in there in Bombie's response to her. Look for it where you were the night you found it was missing.
Yes. When did you last have it? Have you tried looking there? It's good advice. Good advice. Other thoughts, Rachael?
No, sorry, this is just noises that I'm making, but
appropriate for the scene. It's fine.
Wasn't there didn't some playwright just give out, people's cues to them and their lines? Is my question. Because
yes, it's a fairly standard practice to save on paper, etc. That they would be given just your lines and a few words of your cue. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that offers some interesting character work when there's repetitions of certain words, like that spoon line that I wound up skipping over somebody's lines, and because of it, because of the way that I was looking at it, and there's some moments there, and then when Halfpenny is talking about all this food, if you just keep your mouth open and you don't swallow or do anything with that, you wind up almost drooling, and I just think that's an interesting physical response that Lily's writing can instigate in an actor.
Other thoughts on this scene? It was quite a long one, and we've gone by. We had a song. Remember, there was a musical interlude once again from Rixula there, and the boys all got to sing along. And that was quite a fun little song. I like the lyrics to bits of that. All about hanging. Always nice, cheerful, happy songs. So yeah, it's full of things that works really nicely. Helen's just saying you've lost the plot. The people are swapping to be someone else. Yes, we must congratulate Francis on correctly predicting that some people are going to change clothes to disguise to be somebody else because they've recognised people primarily by the clothing they're wearing. So Francis absolutely called that. Yes,
Yeah, Mother Bombie always gets it right.
Yeah.
There's no reason why Francis shouldn't.
Yeah, I'm in character.
Channeling Bombie.
Yeah. I think that's what we always hope we're able to do. I think we all hope to be a bit Bombie. Emma, then Briony.
Just to say, and this scene has kind of confirmed that I really like the character of Mother Bombie, and I'm almost imagining her a bit like a bomb. I know bombs maybe weren't invented then, because she just sort of appears and disappears in a flash, kind of mid-scene, and she works a bit like a truth bomb. She comes along, drops the information, and then just lets it disperse, doesn't explain, doesn't repeat, and that's it. I really like her. She's funny.
And that's a really good definition of power. Is someone who just doesn't explain, just turns up, does the thing, I don't care, and then goes out. Yeah, she does need a flash pot of her very own, doesn't she? So she can be very literally Mother Bombie.
Yeah, like imagine like a smoke bomb on stage. You get the bomb and she appears, and then bam, and she disappears through a trap.
Briony.
Yeah, and just further to that, like we've had to point out the obvious, we've had the answer to the question that Francis posed earlier about her payment for services, and I just love that her payment is just to see what happens when she's given it a big old stir. I'm just going to sit back, and it's the entertainment, really, isn't it, that's paying her? Love it.
Well, they didn't have television in them days. Francis.
Yeah, I like Emma's idea of Mother Bombie, appearing and disappearing in a puff of smoke like the Wicked Witch of the West. But the characters do actually knock at her door.
Oh, well, it's either that or there's just an awful lot of smoke as she opens, whatever she's cooking. Yeah, what? I mean, it's noted every time she comes on, someone just says, "My God, she's hideous." So it's a really interesting question as to what Mother Bombie looks like and how excess. Is there a massive prosthetic going on here, and what is this saying? They are really mean to her, and as I was saying, I just curse everyone because they're obviously just very rude. Eric.
I'm just wondering if it's more like not so much predictions, but like sort of the power of suggestion, where like it's like, oh yeah, it's going to be tiring, and then by the end of like whatever it is, you're actually tired because that idea has been planted in your mind.
Post-hypnotic suggestion.
Yeah, exactly.
It's either that she just has a really good surveillance network and she just knows where everybody's doing. So a lot of what she's predicting is partly based on just if she knew some stuff about parentage and some of these are genuine predictions about way things will go, but some of it is just maybe I just know that you're not actually the child of X. Aliki.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the local cunning woman, chances are somebody came to you 20 years ago going, I think I'm pregnant and this baby is probably not my husband's, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Francis.
Yeah, and also she's wizened and old. She's just seen it all before, you know what I mean, 100 times.
Ah, yes, the old trying to get married to the swindle your child's marriage with somebody else switcheroo. God, with every
Here we go again.
God. Helen.
I think it's simpler than that. I think she's just read a lot of early modern plays.
Well, I say, considering how old this kind of figure is, I mean, early literature. I mean, if we we go back to this kind of figure just keeps popping up time and time again. So yeah, she's got a lot of well-oiled ancestors wandering around. Which leads us to our final thoughts for the session as we go into extra time. So yeah, play so far, thoughts about staging, issues, questions, favourite bits, and more. Eric, do you have any final thoughts for the room?
There's just so many good phrases in this. The whole that Brian you flagged up earlier with the you're not crusty, you're not hard baked and stuff. Yeah, there are just really so many good lines, and the shenanigans are kind of hard to follow sometimes, but I think it works better on a stage because of the physicality of it.
Yeah. There are occasional moments where it is a bit dense, and in this situation, it is a bit tricksy. But if the actors on stage knows what's going on, then hopefully they can communicate what is going on. If there is any sort of early modern distancing going on. Tamara, any final thoughts from you? Because this is your last session. You're not here tomorrow to find out how it all ends.
And
they all die in a terrible tragedy.
I'm still not over the fact how they just dropped the incest in there, or the potential non-incest or whatever is going on there. It seems like a lot of fun at the moment. So I think Alexandra is doing the reading tomorrow, and I'm probably seeing her afterwards. So virtually, of course. So I'm probably going to ask her what happens, because right now I've lost track of some of what's going on, to be honest. But I really want to see what happens. I'm thinking weddings without the veils coming off, and then everything's sorted.
Absolutely. And yes, it's all to play for. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I think we've got the same technique that we saw with the previous Lily, where the cast were possibly rehearsed in small groups, because you could actually have one group which is the fathers and another group which is the four servants, because the interaction between the two is not been that great so far. You've got self-contained units of action, and there's also an awful lot of what seems to be this characteristic Lily wordplay stuff, which is fine for me when it's in English, and probably for many modern audiences is fine in English. When it starts getting into quotes which may well have been current within the group that he was working with or writing for at the time, a different ball game.
Stephen, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the things I've said already, I suppose I think there's an awful lot of visual shtick in terms of costumes and in terms of sort of set pieces. The only new thing that's occurred to me really is I remembered these lads are all musicians. So sort of speaking to, I think, the point that Eric made about the people have been making about timing and pace. How great it would be if all of your actors were musicians, in terms of giving them lines that they are, they're going to know when to breathe. They're going to come in when they need to come in. The sort of fluidity that of the boys together or the fathers together that people have already remarked upon. I wonder if this kind of fluidity would have been possible for an adult troupe in quite the same way. I mean, they go to the 16th century equivalent of a performing arts school.
Yeah. The turnover of plays for Boys Company, the number of performances they're doing, that impression that they seem to be a lot more drilled. They're able to do interjections in a way that adult companies don't tend to do. This material functions in a different way, and that's something we've been noticing going back to plays that are predominantly played by children going back, decades actually. So that we've got some plays where there are an awful lot of interjections, that it's all about cutting into other people's dialogue, that again adult companies generally don't do very often. You might get a line in a play where that is expected to happen, but you might only get one or two. Whereas here, that fluidity of playing is so important. Briony, final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. It's my second Lily. I loved the first one that I read. It's really solid. Like, there's the pace of it, the turn of phrase and the language I love. There's jokes jam-packed in there. The story, compared to some that we've read, is pretty followable. There's incest, there's salaciously missing spoons. We've even had some topical hair jokes to go with our hair situations today. It's got everything. I love it.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about this spoon for a long time, I can feel. Aliki, final thoughts?
I'm enjoying this too, and I'm enjoying the confidence of it. I am getting very confused about which lovers are which and which sons and daughters are which, but that's okay. It would all make sense if I could see their faces.
Yeah, I gave up worrying about that pretty much from the second scene. I just went, I'm just going to go with it. It's fine. And I've got the evening session with Supposes as well, so trust me, there's no way in hell I'm taking any of the actual plot in. It's just going in one ear and out the other. Helen, final thoughts?
Yes, I normally I like to stay on top of the plot, and if I don't, I go back and work it out. But not with this one. I'm just letting it all happen. I haven't a clue. I get mostly which sex they are. Or pretending to be.
That's helpful.
Which is helpful. Well, it doesn't always happen with me. But this time I know what's going on, but I don't know who it's going on to. I can't separate the characters.
No, because
I'm not bothered. It's Lily. It's fun. And the spoon was brilliant.
Oh, God, this is turning about a me and my spoon interview, isn't it? It doesn't help that on the page so many of these characters have names that end in the same way. We've got EO all the way down for so many of these characters. Very similar structurally. On the page, it's just there's nothing leaping out at me to hold on to. So, yeah, faces. Faces would help. Rachael, final thoughts?
Just for me, this is the later we get into Lily, the more I like him. He works out his style and refines it a lot more, and you can tell that he becomes more experienced with actors, and it's this one's. I liked the last one we read, and I liked Galatea, but I don't know. He grows as a writer, and he grows on me as a writer.
Excellent. Emma parachuted in for this session. In the middle of Mother Bombie.
I know.
How's it for you?
Yeah, I really like this play. I think it's really fun. I particularly like the relationship, the dynamic between the four boys, the four servants. I think they work really well together. And I also like that the play's been revealing kind of their role within the group as well. So kind of Risio and Dromio are a bit of a double act, almost like twin-like energy. Halfpenny never misses an opportunity for an intellectual joke. And Lucio, I love the way he was described as like a pudding for a dog or something. So I feel like he's maybe the youngest one and the most gullible one.
He certainly seemed to be the most nervous one, and the one who's like reasonably practical most of the time, rather than going off on flights of fancy.
Yeah.
And finally, Francis, Mother Bombie. How could we not go to Mother Bombie last? Obviously the play's all about you.
Yeah. Mother Bombie doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, she doesn't get much of a look in. But that said, I'm really enjoying the play. It's a delight. It's so sure-footed. And it was interesting what Rachael was just saying. It really feels like a sort of. I'm not familiar with Lyly. I can't even remember the other plays of his that I've read aloud here. But it just it feels like the work of a seasoned playwright. This isn't an early work. It's obviously a late one. And like Helen, I've kind of given up trying to figure out the plot. I think I'm going to take her lead and just let it all wash over me. I'm not here tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure that over the weekend I'll rewatch tomorrow's video and have the script in front of me.
Lovely. And it is interesting. Talking about the way this plot functions, because we were saying, yes, we recognise these servant characters in relation to some of the stick that Lyly did earlier. But even though the various plot threads or character clusters are separated, they are all integrated into a whole. Which some of the earlier Lyly plays were doing, they feel almost entirely detachable. Whereas here, they may be doing stuff like going to the tavern in a way that is separate from the other people going to the tavern, but they are still actively doing stuff that interacts, moves the plot along, even if you don't necessarily always see them doing that. So everybody is very much playing within the same universe rather than being a bit separated out, and that's what seems to be that later cluster of Lyly's plays seems to be much better at doing, whereas his sort of first few works, everything feels a little disparate, and elements feel very cuttable, whereas you can't really do anything. This is the text, and beyond minor tweaks, this is the text. And a good writer makes sure you can't interfere with their text, because they make sure it's structurally impossible to do. We have one more session. We're going to look at Act 4, Act 5, where a lot more people are going to interact with each other on stage at exactly the same time, in ways that will frustrate my attempt to make sure the doubling works. All that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful words. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye.
Thy spoon is not stolen, but mislaid.